The day I give him the notice, that afternoon he calls my house. He goes, "You're fired. Don't come back into the building." So I ran in, I locked him in his condo, and I started unloading my stuff. And 24 hours later, I get a phone call from some detective that I have to turn myself in. I ended up having to surrender myself, and they locked me up.
So we're here with Master Bob Karmel. Bob, how you doing, man?
Good, John. What's going on?
I brought you in. You're the first person here in the in-person studio. The
beautiful Scottsdale sound studios here at...
What are we gonna call it? Because that's the other thing too. Maybe we were talking a little bit about like the Hawaiian volcanic water.
What about Teep Studios?
Teep Studios? Ooh, I think we may have just found the name for it.
Teep Studios.
What kind of royalties I got to pay you for that?
The bill will be in the mail. Trust me.
So for those that don't know you a bit, that's part of the reason why I wanted to have you on here. One, I'm in your hometown. Right, or where you're based out of, right? Not your hometown, but this is your gym hometown. Also, the in-person studios here. Me and you have been working together for a few, like 5 years now.
Yeah, about 5 years.
5 years, and a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of stories about the history of Muay Thai here in the U.S. through the eyes of Bob Karmel, and I think it was one of those things that if a lot more people knew about it, that they would be much more likely to. I don't want to say necessarily people are going to have the respect for who they respect, but understand more or less the context of where we're at in regards to Muay Thai here in the U.S.
Maybe some of them will know how good they have it now.
Yeah, and just appreciate kind of the shit that's happened. I always say is like we're standing on the shoulder of giants, and if you look at you, you're shrunk over and shit, man. We're standing on your shoulders still.
Everybody's still on my neck hurts.
So, out here in Arizona, you've been working with the USMTA. How many years have you been with USMTA?
About 33.
33 years. And for those that don't know, it is amateur and pro. They did pro before too, right?
They can do
pro. Sanctioning bodies to help regulate the sport. United States Muay Thai Association, correct?
Right.
All right. So you've basically been here in Arizona since like day one here in Arizona for Muay Thai.
1993.
1993. And, even going back before that, we were talking after we had, brunch here in Scottsdale at Hash Kitchen, a little bit like how Muay Thai became to be through martial arts here in the U.S. and what you said went back into the 70s or something?
Yeah, I think I was introduced to it. Well, for Muay Thai, it was probably the 80s already.
Mm-hmm.
But for martial arts, for me, started probably about 79, 78.
Mm-hmm.
But Muay Thai was introduced to me maybe mid-80s.
You can bring that mic a little bit closer to you, too.
All right.
There you go. Yeah, like that. There you go. Mid-80s?
Mid-80s.
Yeah. So you were talking to me about something about, what was it, South Texas?
Well, for me, my introduction to martial arts started about 78, 79. I was living in Arlington, Texas. Angleton, Texas. Angleton, Freeport, right around there. I had wrestled in high school, and I was always getting in fights. I was never really, I never took shit from anybody. Big or smaller, didn't matter. I got in a fight. And I was riding a motorcycle around South Texas, being a bad guy, doing bad things to other people and myself, and decided I needed to do something on a positive note, health-wise. So I joined a Kung Fu school.
What kind of Kung Fu was it?
Yeah, so it was called Newa Chia Kung Fu. And it was taught by this guy named Larry Sanders, Sijo Larry Sanders, because he founded this system.
Not Colonel.
Not Colonel Sanders, no. So Newa Chia was made up of internal and external systems of Kung Fu. So they did Wing Chun, they did Tai Chi, they did Hawaiian Kempo Karate, Sesson Jiu-Jitsu, and they kind of combined all this stuff. So I got introduced to Wing Chun at that time, and that's kind of what I ended up specializing in. But I started training in this school. First week there, the head guy under the teacher, the head, student instructor. Of course, I had to challenge him to a fight right away. And he was a skinny little fucking guy. And he was tagging me all over the place. So my background had been wrestling. I think I invented ground and pound because I would take guys down, pick them up in the air, slam them on the ground, jump on top of them, beat the shit out of them.
That's kind of like a wrestler thing though,
yeah.
Right?
So this guy was like kicking me and punching me and moving around. And, I got a little tired after about 3 minutes and he ended up killing me a little bit. So I started training and I got into it. And I ended up beating that guy up 6 months later. Kind of good.
Yeah. But
I started getting involved with the program there. Again, I seem to enjoy doing the Wing Chun a little bit more than the rest of them, but I did them all. And I think at one point I was out of work for a while and there was a barbecue place next door. So I used to split logs for the barbecue place so I could eat over there for free. Mm. And then I was teaching at the Kung Fu school. And at the time we had one school, I think it was in Austin, and one school in Freeport. And I would go teach between the two of them. And I started teaching and I started really enjoying it. It was fun. Mm. But I don't know if the Sijo was the best guy at what he was doing at the time.
But that's what you had.
But that's what I had, and that's where I got started. And he was a good guy. He treated me well. And he knew a lot of stuff about Kung Fu, and that's where I got started. And I got really involved with doing Wing Chun.
Yeah, so like with Wing Chun and stuff like that too, because we've had conversations about it. How long were you involved with it there?
I think in Texas for about 3 or 4 years. And then I moved to Philadelphia. And I found a place that was doing Wing Chun in Philadelphia under William Chung. Okay.
Wow.
And
that's a name, right?
Yeah.
in Kung Fu and martial arts.
Yep. So we started doing William Chung system of Wing Chun. I ended up going to Melbourne, Australia, and living there for like 2-3 months, training under William Chung.
No shit. See, I didn't even know this.
Yeah. So actually, it was more his brother, David Chung, who was the day-to-day guy in the gym with everybody. Yeah. In Australia, it was a roughy-tufty school. I mean, so I was there from Philadelphia, and these guys in Australia, Sifu would give you a combination to do back and forth, whatever the technique was. And these motherfuckers in Australia would always throw one more punch in, right?
Just to get it in?
Yeah, just to get it in. I don't know if it was just us or me or whatever, but every time we'd have to do that, whatever we did, they would throw one more and you'd get whacked. What the fuck, After about 5 or 6 days of doing that, I was there with a couple other guys from Philly at the time, and I go, I'm not taking that anymore. So at the end of that combination, that next day, I threw a left hook. So left hooks are very hard for Wing Chun system.
Because everything's very straight, right?
Yeah, and the hooks that they do are like old Chinese style, big swing.
Big wound up punch.
So we throw a fucking boxing style left hook, and I dropped this guy. And he got up.
Are you doing this bare knuckle? Or
yeah,
what?
Yeah, it's all bare knuckle. David Chung looked and saw I knocked the guy out, and he came and fixed him up and put me with another partner. I knocked him out. I knocked 3 guys out that day. And then everybody became our friends and buddies.
Yeah, they kind of set the tone, like, hey, we're cool, right?
Well, they realized we weren't so stupid. We were just being polite. Yeah. And when we just started hitting them with that hook that they have trouble blocking. So we did that. But I stayed there and trained in Australia at their academy for 3 months, lived in Chinatown. It was really great. Melbourne was a great place. Yeah. And then came back to Philadelphia, and we had another Wing Chun group in Baltimore that I used to go down and train with those guys.
For those that aren't out there, because we do have people that are around the world in this. So Philadelphia, when you're there, so like for people to understand like how, so Baltimore, Philadelphia, not that far, right?
Yeah, about 2 hours.
2 hours. 2 hours driving. It is far for some countries, but US, that's close. Yeah.
And then there was another one of our Wing Chun guys in Manhattan. So we would all get together and train every now and then. And after coming back from Melbourne, William Chung did a big seminar in New York where I tested for my 10th level under William Chung. and passed, you know, and it was good fun. And then we started the wars with Lung Ting. So William Chung got attacked in Germany by, I forget who, at a seminar. And then we went to a Lung Ting seminar in New York City and attacked him.
So when you say attack, is it like you would call like a dojo storm where people like showed up and just like
it was a dojo.
call you out?
It was kind of like Kung Fu movie type.
No, so but like how would that go down? Was it just like, hey, I want to spar you, or is it just like go up and just hit them?
No, for the one I participated in, okay, they got to the point in the seminar where they were doing Chi Sao, right? And then out of Chi Sao, a fight would break out. And then everybody would start. So if you were with a guy from another gym, you would, you know.
Start fighting him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
different times in martial arts, man.
Yeah, so we became like his little soldiers, and it was a little weird. And
kind of like a cult.
After a little while, I realized this was sort of a cultish type thing. So like when you went to dinner with William Chung, you couldn't eat until he ate.
Oh, shit.
So he would do this stuff where the food would come, you know, and he'd have food on his plate, and he would just sit there and talk and not touch anything. So nobody else could eat until he eats first. So after a while, I'm starting to think, you know, he's just a guy, you know.
Yeah, maybe this is not the thing.
I'm a guy, he's a guy. And if I get hurt doing one of these things, is he going to come pay the rent on my house and stuff, you know? And so sort of put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And that's when I met Paul Vunak. And I started getting involved with JKD guys. And it was Paul Vunak and Tom Cruise. They put a new spin on martial arts at that period of time.
When you say, wait, real quick, when you say Tom Cruise, you don't mean the actor Tom Cruise, right?
Tom Cruise is,
I just wanted to make sure.
Was one of Paul Vunak's top guys. Yeah. So it sort of put a new spin on things with the JKD guys because they weren't wearing traditional uniforms. They were wearing sweatpants with logos on it and T-shirts with logos on it. And they were very accepting of everybody with other martial arts skills.
Yeah.
So when I met those guys, I didn't know anything about Kali or, you know, any of that stuff. But I had Wing Chun. And they would respect me for my Wing Chun skills, you know. So when they did some trapping or some Wing Chun type movements, they would sort of say, does that fit right with you, Bob? You know, and kind of compare it. They would treat you like a, you know.
An equal.
Yeah. You know? And it was kind of refreshing at the time, you know. So I got involved with training with Paul Vunak and going to his seminars. And I actually went out to Long Beach and went to his home and trained for, I think I went out there for 2 separate 1-week sessions with him, which were like unique.
Yeah, I imagine.
And they were good, you know. It was kind of exciting, but it's like in his garage, back alley. Vunak was always getting in fights and stuff, and
you were there for that, essentially.
You know,
yeah.
And Vunak was a real dude, you know. He put his money where his mouth is. There was no what if I hit you with this, you're gonna die. Paul Vunak was out there in a bar starting fights with people, and
you're gonna find out
and doing stuff. You know, did it work? Did I do it? You know, and he was a very exciting guy. And then from there we started expanding into the whole JKD clan, which was, you know, Danny Asanto, Mike and I, Angel Cabales, Chai Searsuit, Francis Fong, who became my next mentor for Wing Chun. Very dynamic guy, made Wing Chun very more combat orientated. Very talented guy he was. And
he had some names in there, I think, for people that might not know, too. Danny Asanto. He was one of Bruce Lee's students, right?
Yes.
And then Chai Searsuit, founder of TBA,
yes,
right? World Thai Boxing Association. So just for anybody that's out there, kind of give context for who these people are, right? And like when you're talking about history timeline, this is back when you guys were young.
Yeah, these guys were young too. They were all there. Larry Hartzell, you know, was in there. Tim Tackett was in there. We started training with these guys. So there used to be camps. Okay, so there was a Smoky Mountain camp they did for 2 or 3 years, and then there was another one in New York that we used to go to, Kevin Seaman used to put it on, and we used to go there and train with all these people. And for like a 3-day weekend, they were very intensive training. So back in those days, early 80s, these guys who were like rock stars to us would come out and do seminars at people's schools, and they would go on tour. So Francis Fong would come in, and he'd come to my school in Philadelphia, then go to Princeton, and then he'd go to Cortland, New York, and then he'd go to Pittsburgh, and then he'd go, somewhere else. And we would all go to the different seminars. And if you were an instructor, you'd go, hey, I'm bringing some guys from my gym to your gym. And they'd go, well, bring me 5 guys, you're in for free. So we'd all make these circuits of everybody. And we would video stuff, and we trade the videos. I still have VCR videos.
Damn. So like you guys would have the straight up camera, and you just film the VHS tape right there. Hey man, I was at this seminar. Here's this tape. Check this out.
And we black market them.
Yeah.
So they would be all over, and that's how you train with Daniel Santo and Paul Vunak and Francis Fong and Mike and I, who's doing Serrata Eskrima. So we would go train with all these guys. But the birth of Muay Thai for me in Philadelphia started in a Thai restaurant in Philly. So there was a Thai restaurant we were going to. We barely knew anything about Thai boxing. We saw a couple of videos now and then would pop up, but there was, it's not like today, I didn't have that phone in my pocket.
So you can just pull it up.
I had one of these in my pocket.
You guys had like Black Belt magazine and shit like that.
8mm movies we're still looking at.
Yeah, damn. Okay.
So we met these 2 waiters that said
8mm film. I mean like the spool of film?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm bringing this up. Around. I know what it is, but that's like, man, Bob, I knew you're old, but like not that old, man.
Dude, I'm so old. I trained the guys who fought at the Last Supper. That's how old I am.
Damn, man.
So there's a few people that kind of come together around this period of time to make things happen, which was really kind of really interesting. There was a lot going on at this time. So we met these 2 waiters that said they were Thai boxing. In retrospect, they were terrible. Okay, but what do we know? So these 2 waiters would come up to my gym after we got done with the classes at my gym. It was closed. And there would be me, John Crane, who I'll introduce in a little bit. And there was this Mark Wiley, who's become a big Screama guy, and 2 other guys whose names I can't remember. So they were all doing Vunak stuff, and they were all doing the Screama, and we were all doing Wing Chun. John Crane was just doing Wing Chun. So we were doing Thai boxing with this guy, with these two waiters. And we didn't have any equipment. We just had like karate kicking shields, right? So we were kind of using those and kicking. John Crane was the last one to enter into this group. So John Crane, who is my lifelong buddy right now, we've been hanging out for 30 years. He had already trained at Fairtex.
At this point, huh?
At this point. And he had been to Thailand. So he had done some Thai boxing. And he was already better than 2 stupid waiters.
Right? Yeah.
And wanted to learn Wing Chun. He was also going to school at Wharton at the time, getting his MBA. So we would all get together after the gym closed and do some Thai boxing stuff, okay? We were terrible. We had no idea what the fuck we were doing. And we got a VCR tape of a Chai Sirsut seminar, and we trained off of that tape for like a year. Right?
A year?
About a year.
That's like all you had, right?
Yeah, that's all we had. So we just took every combination off of that and tried to work it. Then we finally got a pair of Thai pads. They were from Permabuilt. I think each one weighed 9 pounds, right? So we finally got a couple of pairs of Thai pads, which made things a little better. So we were training off of that video. And these 4 of us were like doing JKD stuff. We were doing stick fighting. We were doing Muay Thai. We'd meet in my gym. We'd meet in this one guy had a big garage. We would meet. And we're getting kind of good at some of this stuff. And we kind of got some kind of open challenge going on with karate guys. Okay.
How would you get this challenge out?
It was kind of like a word of mouth thing. You know, things were very different back in those days.
Well, yeah, it's like the Gracies when they went and did the Gracie challenges and stuff like that too.
That comes into play here in a couple minutes. So we sort of had this open challenge for karate guys to come out and fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So they would come out and they would get in their karate stances and stuff, and we would just whack them in the leg, and it was over. Nobody had never seen a leg kick. We weren't even doing it right.
Yeah.
We were just doing it.
You just hit them, yeah.
We were just hitting them. So nobody had ever seen it before, so they had no idea what to do. They couldn't deal with the pain. And we had broken noses. We had all kinds of injuries going on in this guy's garage. And we were developing. Okay. So Mark Wiley had gone to a Smoky Mountain camp and met Cliff Letterman. So Cliff Letterman had made some movies. He's kind of a big, muscular Asian guy. Was doing all the JKD stuff. He was sort of like a bit of an original JKD guy from Washington area. And we brought him out for a seminar. Nobody showed up for the seminar.
Shit.
Except for us.
Yeah.
Right? So we had him to ourselves for a weekend, and we did some good Muay Thai stuff with him, which was very interesting. Funny thing is he's retired now, and he lives here in Phoenix.
Oh.
Okay, so I still see him every now and then.
Oh, that's a trip.
So we brought Larry Hartzell out. We did some Muay Thai with him, and we worked on a little group for a long time. And we got word that Chai was doing a seminar at Don Garen's gym in Pittsburgh. So we rolled out there for the seminar for the first time. And Chai was kind of impressed with us because we were able to already do a bunch of stuff. And he had never seen us, never met us.
Yeah, it's your first time. He's like, oh man, like these guys have been studying, obviously. Right. Yeah.
So Chai spoke with John Crane, and John Crane had been to Thailand and done some training. So then we started following Chai around the East Coast when he was doing seminars, and we were there.
You like followed him essentially.
Yeah, we're like his soldiers.
Yeah, you're like the Chai deadheads essentially.
Yeah, it was like that. And the seminars back then were very intense. The work level was really hard. They were long. They were 2 4-hour days. And when you got done with those, you couldn't walk. You sit in the car for 2 hours and drive back to Philly. Couldn't walk when you got out. And then we would take all that and the videos from that seminar and work it and start developing. And then he told us we could start training a little group, right? So I added Muay Thai to the curriculum at the Philadelphia Center of Martial Arts. It was on 18th Street in Chestnut. So we taught Wing Chun, we taught Sarada, Eskrima, we taught Thai boxing, we taught Kempo karate and Tai Chi. Okay. So we actually at one point in time at 800 members. So that was, kind of ahead of his time.
Is this the one you were telling me about that was like 3 stories, right?
3 stories up.
So like a 3-story building. You said it was like fitness center downstairs, right? And then the second floor was a karate guy?
Yes. No, so it was kind of the facility was ahead of its time. So it started out just as a martial arts school, Philadelphia, that taught 3 things, okay? And then the guys who owned it expanded it and put in a fitness center, health club. So the first 2 floors were health club. And then the next floor, the 4th floor, half of it was a free weight gym, it's like a prison.
Yeah, prison yard style.
Prison yard style. And then the back half of the building was martial arts. So we expanded the martial arts group and was in Philadelphia. And we had about 800 members.
That's fine. That's crazy. That's including like the fitness and everything like that too?
No, that was just the martial arts.
Just the martial arts. So like what year is this, would you say? If you can give like a range.
Yeah, so late 80s.
Late 80s. So it's like martial arts boom.
Yeah, martial arts boom.
So martial arts is like, it was like all over Hollywood and everything.
Yeah,
too, right?
What's the movie Paulo Tosh is in?
Kickboxing. No, not Bloodsport.
Bloodsport.
Yeah.
And Kickboxer all came out around that period of time. So it was doing good. Wing Chun was very popular. Kali was popular. Thai boxing was still sort of
not really there.
Yeah, you couldn't even say Muay Thai. You had to say Thai boxing.
Yeah.
So we had the gym when it was going, and I wanted to fight. So I used to go to karate tournaments with Muay Thai stuff and get kicked out of the tournament. So it was very funny. So I wearing Thai shorts.
Yeah.
And I go into the black belt division of the karate tournament. If you remember the old style karate tournament.
Yeah.
And they didn't like me because I wasn't a karate guy.
Yeah.
Right. So they put me with their baddest guy. Right. So we're standing at the circle in front of each other, and the referee's getting ready to start us, and the karate guy gets into his deep, stance. Yeah. And I'm up like this, Muay Thai style. And he goes, Hajime. I go, okay. All right, fucking crack that guy in the fucking leg, in a deep stance. And they go, warning, illegal technique. And I just went, oh, I'm sorry, And he get back down that deep stance again. This time I go to the inside of his leg, whack. And I go, warning, illegal technique again. I go, oh, I'm sorry, So he goes to start us again. Now the guy's leg's trashed, so he can't get into that deep stance anymore. Yeah. He's got to stand up tall. And he ran me over, and I got disqualified.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to win.
Yeah, you went there just to just go, let's see how this does kind of thing.
See how this does.
Yeah.
And then I got hooked up with a kickboxing fight in upstate New York somewhere. Mm-hmm. And it was like real old school kickboxing.
Like with the pants and the booties?
Pants, booties, that you had to do so many kicks per round or they took points away.
So like with that, there was a PKA. Was it like that style where they would count, right? What was that, like Professional Kickboxing Association? It was something like that.
And that stuff was on TV back then.
Yeah, it was popular.
Alex Alexio and all those kind of, Rick Rufus. There was these guys from Canada. It was on TV. I forgot the girl's name. But there was a woman kickboxer that was real popular, and she was just out here doing a seminar a little while ago.
Kathy Long.
Yeah, Kathy Long.
Kathy Long, yeah.
So I brought her out to Philadelphia. That's another story.
Yeah.
But so I signed up for this fight with another guy from my gym, and we had no idea what we were doing. So we went up to this thing, and of course there's no leg kicks. There's all this, bullshit stuff. So the guy kept side kicking me in the face or side kicking me away. Finally, I just had to kick him in the leg, got disqualified. But I had great guys in my corner. I had, Bobby Carver from Canada was down and working my corner. I forgot everybody's name. But we had a bunch of, the JKD guys were all Kevin Seaman, Bobby Carver were my corners. And back then, those guys didn't even know how to work a corner either.
Yeah.
I remember they tried to give me water with my mouthpiece still in, and I coughed it up, spit blood and water all over them. But it was all part of the learning curve. Nobody had ever done any of this before.
No, you just kind of like, okay, I'm going to do my best and learn, right?
So fuck it, I want to fight. Let's do this. I wanted to fight. So we did that, and there was no place to do Muay Thai, and I wanted to fight. And then we get ready to go to Thailand. So John Crane had already known Philip Wong.
So for those that don't know, Philip Wong was the founder of Fairtex. Right, and he's still there till this day.
Still the main guy.
Still advising people, still has hands-on with training and stuff like that too. Every day up on his chair up there. So
at the same time all this is going on, the UFC is starting to develop. Okay. So I have a friend in Philadelphia named Stephen Maxwell who's doing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. And he's like the first jiu-jitsu school in Philadelphia. And the Gracies are coming out, and they had their $100,000 challenge.
So wait, it was $100,000 like if you could beat them?
Yeah. So those guys would start their seminar off. Everybody's sitting on the mat. They'd be sitting in front of the group, and they all go, okay, anybody want to fight me? And everybody's going, well, fuck no. right? So the seminar went up. So I was invited to go watch because it was down the street from my gym. And we were friends with those guys, right? I watched the seminar. It was pretty cool. And I wrestled. So, I kind of had a grasp of it. But this was all new, right? That evening, I get a call from Stephen Maxwell. They got some guys from Penn State Wrestling want to challenge them. And they're two brothers. They're twins. They're huge. And they're high-level wrestlers, right? And Royce Gracie tapped both those guys out like 4 times. And those guys had no idea what happened. This was new.
It's totally uncharted territory.
You gotta remember, wrestlers want to put you on the back. Jiu-jitsu guys have no problem being on their back.
Yeah, sure. You come to my realm, right?
So as soon as he rolls over to the back, the wrestler thinks he's winning. And then he, wraps his leg around his arm. He's got him in an arm bar or
triangle or something.
But I was very, very impressed. They were coming to Philly kind of regular to do seminars and stuff with Stephen Maxwell. And they came to the gym once when we were doing a smoker fight in the gym. And they came and watched. And we went to dinner later, and they told me about their plans for the UFC.
The Gracies, huh?
Gracies.
So that's crazy. So literally, that's like some of the history. I mean, we just had UFC 300, right? To kind of give context for anybody who's listening to this later. This is pre-UFC 1, right? So
pre-UFC 1.
Pre-UFC 1. So they're telling you your plans at dinner.
So they tell me their plans at dinner. And I told them, you guys are fucking crazy. They wanted no time limit. This was early. This was early UFC. So they wanted to bring, what do they call it in Brazil?
Vale
Tudo type thing. So I had gotten Muay Thai fights approved in Philadelphia, pro, amateur. So they wanted me to help them try and get it with the commission here. And I go, oh man, I don't know about this shit.
Because they were doing those like bare knuckle.
Yeah, it was.
You could pull hair, you could hit the groin and stuff.
It was a little rough. So the commissioner at the time just shook his head. He just goes. So there's things going on with the Gracies. Okay, I wanted to fight, right, and there was no place to fight, and I made my first trip to the Fairtex camp in the summer. John Crane, Philip Wong hosted us. They were really great to us. The camp was like, was a trip. So going to Thailand in the 80s, not the same as going to Thailand now.
Definitely not. Yeah.
No, not the same.
A lot rougher. It was not tourist friendly.
Was not tourist friendly.
They're friendly, but it's just not tourist friendly in regards to Western toilets, transportation, all that.
So we go to the camp to train. We get to hook up. John and I are living in a room above a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown, Bangkok. Every morning we arrange for a tuk-tuk to take us to the camp to train. And we would train all week long. We would take a bus ride back from the camp to our Chinese restaurant. The thing is we were both so stupid. John, not as stupid as me. He go to Wharton. He's a lot smarter. He speaks Chinese, speaks a bunch of languages. Me, I don't know what's going on. So they had a guy from the camp take us on the buses every day to our Chinese restaurant so we wouldn't get lost.
Like, hey, this is where you're going to end up at. Like, so that way you can kind of learn your surroundings.
So they had a fighter from the camp take us home every day on the buses.
To make sure these guys don't get lost.
So this fighter's name was Boomkurt. Okay. So at the time, he was a rock star in Thailand.
He was like the people's champ, right?
Yeah, he was the champ of both stadiums at the time. He was a monster. I mean, I fought at 105 pounds, but he looked like the Hulk. He looked like the Rock or something, just little. So
Boomkurt was the guy that would take you on the bus back to this Chinese restaurant every day.
Yeah. And then we would try and buy him dinner, and he would go, no, okay. And he'd get on the bus and go back to the camp. But he became my sparring partner every day, and he became my really good friends. And of all the guys from the camp, Boomkurt and I became very close. But to get back to the camp, so training at the camp, I was the only white guy there at the time. The rest are all, guys getting ready to go fight, right?
Yeah.
So training very different, you know. So you get on a heavy bag until they call you up to do your pad work time. So you're on a heavy bag. There's no timer clock like we have. Ganyao was like the head guy watching the clock.
And for those that don't know Ganyao, he's a massive Thai guy.
Yeah, he's like 6'2",
He's up in the Bay Area along with Boonkert and stuff
so
too.
So he watches the clock and calls the beginning of the round, the end of the round, if he's paying attention. Sometimes they would yell at him because he forgot to look at the clock.
Yeah.
And then he'd laugh, you know, because we're working, they're not.
Yeah.
So you would keep going on the heavy bag until they call you up to do your pad work. And they always call me last because I was the Fanong, you know, who's the add-on guy. And
okay. You get some work out to everybody else, right?
So my first pad holder was this guy, Tai Boom, all right? And a little stocky guy, very mean. And they don't, in Thailand, we were like, okay, jab, cross, knee, you know, you call out, whatever. He just stood in front of me with his pads up and looked at me. And when nothing happened, he just started punching and kicking me.
So, all right. Yeah.
So you go, all right, I guess you want me to just kick? Oh, yeah, kick. So the idea was to keep kicking to keep that motherfucker off you.
Yeah.
So it was really, really hard training. And then when it came time to spar, I got with Boonkert all the time. Just beat the fuck out of me. I just look at him, I go, I know. And he'd go, I know I can't do anything, but, you know, he would let loose on me.
Yeah.
He never really hurt me too bad, you know, but it was just like nothing I could do. It was like a joke.
Yeah, he's just kind of playing. It's like a, cat playing with his food.
It was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then for clinch work, they would put me with this guy, Tai Boom. At the time, I had lost some weight. I was down to like 205. Okay. Tai Boom, I don't think weighed 125 pounds. I would touch him in the clinch and he'd just, I'm on my ass.
Yeah.
I spent a week getting thrown on my ass. The first week I was there. Plus, he used to rub his nubby head on me. My face was all red and scuffed up, and my neck was all scraped up from his head.
From his head. Did he have like short hair?
Short hair.
Yeah, of course.
Rubbed his forehead all over me. So by the end of the first week, I just, you know, started to pick it up a little bit, and the jet lag was going away.
Yeah.
And I was getting a little bit stronger, and I was getting upset about this guy just dumping me all the time. So I got a little better, and my beard grew out for like 6 days. So I fought back much harder and used my chin on him with my scruffy beard. The next day he came out with red shit on his face. So and then it started getting better, but it was, you know, the training was so much different than the way we've been doing things here in the United States.
Yeah, because it was just so foreign for like the freestyle pad holding and doing that stuff. Like that wasn't...
Nobody did it.
And coming from like a Wing Chun background where everything had to be done like a particular way too, right?
Yeah.
And then to something that's kind of like, all right, go.
It was tough. So I spent 2 months there, my first trip, and of course talked to Philip a whole bunch, and Philip was very kind. He would take us out to dinner and stuff. Went back to Philly with new goals. I also brought back enough equipment to pay for my trip. So you couldn't get Thai pads. Nobody had ever seen a belly pad, okay? And shorts, all that stuff. So I had a big hockey gym bag. I filled it up with as much equipment as I could, brought it back to Philly and sold it to everybody. And that's how I paid for my tickets.
It's one of those things that I started doing when I was there too. Is just bring it back. Hey, what do you want? I'll look for it. I'll pull it back for you because you can get different stuff there, and it's still kind of like that, not to the same degree. Like you're saying, this is the first time people see a Muay Thai belly pad for like pad holding and shit. Man, I can't even like blows my mind because even when I started, I knew what that looked like.
Yeah, so I would help pay for my trip, and we had equipment to train on and shorts and stuff, and came back to Philadelphia and expanded my program, okay? And we got a little better at training stuff. And now I still wanted to fight, but there was no place to fight. So I created something so we could go fight. So I started looking into promoting fights in Philadelphia. Just a few problems. Besides the normal promotion issues, we needed officiating officials, and I needed to get approval of the boxing commission. Okay. And this was a long time ago. Boxing commissioner at the time was Greg Serb. And they knew a little bit about kickboxing, nothing about Muay Thai.
Completely new.
Didn't want to know about it. Didn't want to. So I pestered them, but I went to them trying to educate them about the sport. And then I had to find venues to put on. So there was a place in Philadelphia called the Blue Horizon, which is an iconic boxing venue. I think it's been torn down, but it was like everybody put shows on there. And I went and talked to the guy that ran that place, and he just kind of laughed at me and shit. Said, no, I don't want you in here. Okay. So I found an ice skating ring that we could do it in, right? So I started doing amateur fights. And the boxing commissioner gave me the name of a referee, right? And he had been a former boxer in Philadelphia. And I wish I could remember his name. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah.
But so he was a Jewish boxer.
Okay. But real quick, when you were doing these amateur fights, like, were you wearing like shin guards, anything like that? Yeah. Shin guards, headgear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to put officials together to do this thing. So I met this boxing referee who was kind of open-minded, and he was a Jewish boxer, and I was Jewish, so we all kind of connected, and he was really open-minded. This is like open-minded for these guys, you know, to do this stuff. And so I showed him some videos, and he'd come to the gym and hang out, and he learned a bit about it, and we brought him up to date, and he got me some state judges that we also put them in classes and taught them about stuff. And
when you say classes, was stuff that like you were running?
I sat them down in my office and
talked to them about like, this is a body kick, this is a leg kick.
You know, but you know, we kept it simple because basically it's a fight. Yeah. You know, you can kind of tell who won a fight, who didn't win a fight. Yeah. Without getting too technical about stuff.
Different than jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
There was no jiu-jitsu. Nobody knew anything about jiu-jitsu. So we got some decent judges, and we got the referee going, and we started putting on amateur fights. So the commission said we got to have headgear. There was no elbows. Shin pads, headgear, gloves, 16-ounce gloves, 10-ounce gloves. So we got all that, and we started doing some shows. And I would draw fighters from as far north as Connecticut and from Virginia. So I would get guys from the whole East Coast to come down and fight. And we put on some good-sized cards, and we had great attendance, and it was going well. It was going well. We're putting on fights. Then I got approved to put on a pro fight, so we did a pro-am. I brought in some kickboxing guys, from American kickboxing guys, with European. I brought in some guys from England. So we were just about at the same time merging my sanctioning organization that I started in Philadelphia with the British Thai Boxing Council, okay, that came to New York with Clint Haylanger, and it created the USMTA.
So that's why it started. The head office is out there. That makes sense.
So that's why the head office is still in New York. Yeah. So it was originally the British Thai Boxing Council, and then I don't even remember what I called my thing, American Muay Thai or something. Yeah. And we blended it and became the USMTA.
Got it.
All right. And the British Thai Boxing Council in England, Tony Moore was the head of. So he would bring some of his British guys out here to fight some American guys. Okay. So the American guys all got killed. Yeah. Okay. It was
keep it simple, like
devastating. All right. And the American guys on the amateurs started fighting, and they're getting they're getting fights in now, finally. So this is all going on in Philadelphia at the same time. So we got the UFC stuff starting to cook. We got amateur and professional Muay Thai starting to cook. I take another trip to Thailand. Okay. Now we're back at the camp training. We know the deal a little better. We're going to fights with Philip at night, which was like, that's like a whole nother story unto itself.
Yeah.
And the first year I went to the camp, Philip bought a Rolls Royce, an older Rolls Royce.
Shit. Huh.
Like the kind where the chauffeur is like sitting outside.
Yeah.
Right? So he bought this Rolls Royce. And it was going to cost him, I think he said like $1 million to redo this Rolls Royce. Because in Thailand, the car itself is very expensive because they have luxury tax on those cars. Mm-hmm. And then he had to redo the inside, the motor, he rebuilt the whole thing. So when I came back the next year, the Rolls Royce is done. It's beautiful. So we're starting to talk to Philip about opening up something in the United States. Mm-hmm. Okay. About the popularity of the sport in the United States. And Philip's very open to it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've been talking to him about it for a couple of weeks, and he takes us out to lunch one day. And there's myself and John Crane, Philip, I don't remember who else was in the car with us, but Ganyao's driving. He's the chauffeur.
He's driving the Rolls Royce?
He's driving the Rolls Royce.
Oh, shit.
And he actually runs somebody over in an intersection. I don't think the guy died or anything.
You just hit him, yeah.
He hit him and they went out. I think gave him some money and he went away. But as we're driving to lunch in the back of this Rolls Royce, we've been talking to Phil about doing something in America. And he goes, how much do you think it would cost to build a really nice camp in the United States? I said, not much, just maybe one Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can afford to fix up a Rolls Royce and drive around in it, along with your other 10 cars,
What's one more? Yeah.
One more, So he shakes his head. He goes, oh, okay. So this is the beginning of Fairtex, United States.
Yeah.
So Philip had a good friend that lived in Arizona, okay, that he used to come out here and visit. He liked it here because there was no traffic here then. Mm. And the air was clean compared to Bangkok,
Oh, yeah.
And Bangkok back then was really bad. So he came up with the idea of Arizona. Okay.
That was Philip's idea.
Because his friend lives here, so if he's here to visit his friend, he might as well have the thing here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we started looking for property. And Philip found property. Okay, it was on Chandler Boulevard in the I-10, which back in those days, there was nothing there. And he drew up plans to build a whole fitness center with indoor and outdoor tennis courts and pools and gyms and all this shit, and a boxing camp. And it was all Thai style. And we ended up bringing those plans up with the city. Mm-hmm. And it all got approved, and we started work on building the camp.
So this area too, for like having the camp, when you say camp, this was like the framework was like a Thai style training camp in Chandler, Arizona, in the middle of the desert, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, back then, yeah.
There was nothing around there, and you took me by there before one of Fabiano's shows. Right. I think after weigh-ins, you're like, hey, I'm going to show you something. The building's still there.
Yeah, building's still there.
It's like a Hindu temple or something like that. So when you guys are going through this, and Philip's like, you guys, if you're back in the U.S., how are you guys communicating? Was it just an expensive phone call? What did you do?
Yeah, so it was phone calls, which, timing's an issue.
And how much did that cost back then, man? That was expensive.
I don't remember. And faxes.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. The fax plans and everything.
Fax stuff. And so at the same period of time, we're putting on fights in Philadelphia. We're developing a program in Philadelphia. So are other people. Mm-hmm. You have these seminars going on with Chai and Francis Fong and Paul Vunak and Dana Santo. These guys all coming around. So there's all this martial art sort of energy going on. Mm-hmm. You also got to remember there's no internet. There's no cell phones.
Yeah, there's nothing like that.
I don't even think we had pagers. So you would have to print up a flyer and get addresses out of the phone book of all the martial arts schools.
Send it to them or go there, give it to them.
It was real phone calls.
Yeah.
I don't think we barely had answering machines back then.
Yeah.
So getting information out to promote fights, that's why I laugh now when guys go, hey, I'm the fighter, I don't have to promote myself. You know, all you got to do is hit share.
It's so easy.
Promoter makes a poster with your face on it.
So
just
easy.
Put it on your page, hit share. You did something.
Yeah, that's a step, like, rather than not doing anything.
You know, I used to have to walk around and put posters on poles and go into stores and go, hey, would you put my poster in your window?
I'm fighting next week. Can you put this up to support me?
I had to go do all that stuff. We promoted the gym. We used to get 2 guys out of the gym and give them flyers and make them stand on a street corner and hand them out to people. We used to have to make phone calls, cold calls, where you would just get like the yellow pages and start calling everybody, hey, interested in martial arts? Come down, you know. It was like hard because everybody hangs up on you, throws your shit away. It was fuck you. You know, it was hard.
Yeah, cold calls are not easy from like a business standpoint. It's like if there's a way to like figure out if someone has it for sales, is put them in cold calls.
I did that for years. But so in Philadelphia, all this stuff is cooking now.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia. So we're putting on some fights, and we're doing big fights, little fights now. So I used to do like smoker fights in my gym. So those were on the 4th floor. Okay, when you came in off the street, you go up 1 floor. So you had to go up like 3 flights of stairs.
In Philadelphia, right? Yeah.
And I would get like 80 chairs delivered, but I wasn't going to carry 80 chairs up the fucking stairs and stuff.
Yeah.
So we put the chairs downstairs, right? And if you wanted a chair, it was $1 deposit. So you had to bring the chair back down
to get your dollar back. That's smart. Yeah.
Right? So if they left their chairs up there, I already got $1, and it cost me 25 cents to rent the chair back then.
Made a little money.
Yeah. But I got chairs and I didn't have to lug them all up now. So if you wanted to, or you could stand. So we would do smokers upstairs in the gym. And a lot of people who are still active in Muay Thai all started in those little smokers in Philadelphia. You know, if I was a little bit more prepared, I could break down names, but Remy fought on one of my shows.
Remy and Ibrahim, right? Yeah.
Steven Strathmeyer was...
Dr. Steven Strathmeyer.
Yeah, was at those shows, used to go to those shows. There's a bunch of guys in Philadelphia who are still there.
That's crazy. You know, to like look back on some of those names and seeing them, because they were kids back then, right? They're kids back then fighting on this. So obviously there was a lot going on, right? With martial arts, promotion, regulation, promoting, gyms, talking with Philip Wong to get this Fairtex plan and this whole thing dreamed up to have it happen in Chandler. You know, for you, like, were you ever at one point like, oh, fuck, like, I hope this works? Or would you just kind of just double down like, hey, I'm doing this?
You know, it was like such an exciting time. There was so much going on. So I was actually working at the Franklin Mint as an executive chef. And I'd been there about 10 years. So I would go to work at 2 o'clock in the morning. I would get out of the Franklin Mint. I was a chef. I would be out of the kitchen at 2 in the afternoon, go back to my apartment, which was in the middle of where Franklin Mint is, and driving into Philly, take a nap for an hour and a half, and then zoom down to the gym and be down there till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and then come home, sleep for 4 hours, and I was running like that. And at the Franklin Mint, when I was at work, I started getting phone calls there from like Japan and Thailand and stuff. And it really started, you know, they got not so happy about me doing all this other stuff. So I got laid off at some point. I don't remember what the whole story was, but I got laid off and I just started working at the gym full time. So I started managing the gym and I was doing privates. I had Secret Service guys from Virginia coming up. I was training DEA agents from their violent task force coming to Philly to train. I was teaching the Philadelphia Police Department, their jailers, for how to use their batons and hand-to-hand stuff, close range stuff. So I had so much going on at the gym.
No IRS agents though, right?
No IRS agents. And so I had so much going on. I was at the gym full time. And then I was running the gym. Like I said, we had 800 members at one point. So we had big classes.
Yeah.
And back then too, I was, you know, I've always been kind of like a little harsh. And, you know, the Thai boxing group was sort of my training. I wasn't really teaching so good. I was training. So sometimes I would beat people up and stuff. And I didn't care if they quit because I got paid the same no matter what. So the management changed all that after a while, and I got paid. The more people we had, the more bonus I got. So I would stop training on people. But it was a kind of a rough group. You know, it was kind of a rough group, and we were not as smart about training as we are now.
Yeah, well, you were learning. You didn't know. It was like you were trying to figure shit out, and like even me, it's like you look back 15 years ago, things are way different now, just based upon what we know with the body and shit. Yeah,
so we would go hard, you know, and the Wing Chun guys went hard, and then I had an Eskrima team, and we were competing in Eskrima. So I used to have full contact Eskrima fights too in the East Coast. Well, you wore equipment, but you were still hitting each other with sticks and stuff. So we had all this stuff going on we used to go do. And then we started putting on Muay Thai fights. So it was like a real exciting time, you know, with so much going on.
And like for this, like that was still like early 90s?
Yeah.
Early 90s.
Before I even moved to Arizona yet.
Yeah, before. So I know we're coming up on like an hour here, and we talked about saving the next chapter of the Muay Thai story in the U.S. through the eyes of Bob Karmel.
So if we're going to end on Philadelphia stuff, now more communication with Philip. Philip has a location in Arizona. I fly out. We take a look at it. He's got blueprints. He's got construction company lined up.
Did you guys go out to the space where he wanted to do it at? And so you guys sit in the middle of the desert.
Flew me out. You know, and it used to be a blast, you know, fly me out to Philly. So he had this really cool blue and white Rolls Royce here in Arizona. And he would send one of the guys that worked in his house with the Rolls Royce to pick me up at the airport. So it's always fun standing out in front of the airport. And blue Rolls Royce pulls up, guy gets out, opens the door, you get in the back. You know, it's kind of fun. But I had already been flying back and forth to come out here to check out everything, you know, and look at the property, look at the blueprints, and we were figuring out where we're going to put stuff in the gym. You know, is it big enough? Is it small enough? And I'm back to Philly. We're putting on fights. We're doing Eskrima. We're doing, you know, Kabbalah stuff, because every time I fly out to Thailand, I stop in Stockton and go train with Angel Kabbalahs. And then on the way back, I go train with him again. And then I go back to Philly. So we get stick fighting stuff going on. We get the Wing Chun going on. We get the Thai boxing going on. And now we're getting ready to open up the Fairtex camp in Arizona. So we got the green light on the program. Okay. I go to Chai Sirsut had started his annual training camp in Oregon.
Yeah.
So this was the second camp. I show up there with the blueprints for this whole Fairtex camp and show all this stuff to Chai and everybody, you know, and they're all the Muay Thai guys from across the country. Here's what's coming. This will be here this year next time. And come back to Philadelphia. And I give my notice, 2 weeks notice, to the guy who owns the gym that I'm at. The day I give him the notice, all right, that afternoon he calls my house. He goes, "You're fired. Don't come back into the building." All right. So I go, "Hey, my equipment's in there. You know, my trophies, photos that I had on the walls, all that stuff." He goes, "Don't come in here." And I go, "Yeah, well, fuck you." So I don't know if people want to hear this, but the guy had made a condo for himself on the 5th floor of the building. So I ran in, I locked him in his condo, ran underneath to where my martial arts school, and his phone lines ran through. I ripped his phone lines out so he couldn't call anybody, right? So I locked him in there, and I started unloading my stuff. And I had some of the guys from the gym come down. I got my car double parked outside, and I'm getting my equipment and some of my stuff, right? So he finally breaks out of his apartment. He calls the police. Police show up, and they go, "Hey, you're stealing all this stuff." I go, "No, it's all my stuff." And they go and they look through everything, and most of the equipment had my name on it or something. And they let me go. And 24 hours later, I get a phone call from some detective that I have to turn myself in. And that guy went to the police and said I stole stuff, I kidnapped him. So I ended up having to surrender myself to the jail in Philadelphia, brought up on theft charges, kidnapping charges.
Just a big laundry list of charges on you, right?
Laundry list of charges, right? And they locked me up. Fortunately, I had a student who was a lawyer who I called before I went down. And he started calling the judge right away, let my guy out, what's the bond, blah, 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 what's going on? Fortunately, also, I had been working with all the jailers in Philadelphia. Of course, they chained me up, put a waist belt on me, chained my hands to my waist, chained my feet up because I was the martial art guy,
Yeah, and back then, too, it was like, we don't know what he can do. He could dim mock us or something.
So but the jailers were really nice to me. I got to use the phone anytime I wanted. And when it became mealtime, when they gave those guys bologna sandwiches, they pulled me out, put me in a room, and I had Chinese food, I had pizza, I had whatever the jail guys were eating. They just got food for me because they all knew me, then put me back in. All those guys in the jail was just one big room waiting for court. So you get a colored bracelet for each crime you did. So I had like 9 different bracelets. Most of those guys in there were in for drugs, so they just had one thing. I had 9 things. And I kind of look Italian.
Oh, shit.
And I went to jail dressed a little nice. And I was getting phone calls in the holding cell.
Yeah, and they kept calling you in and stuff.
They kept calling me in and calling the phone and stuff. So all those black guys in there, they all stayed away from me. They thought I was mafia. And they just stayed away from me. Plus, I knew all the cops.
Yeah.
So they go, this guy's gangster,
Yeah, he's obviously connected, yeah.
And then they took us into court, and I was the first one they called up, and they go, Mr. Karmel, you have a very persistent lawyer. I hope to meet him someday. He goes, you're out on your own reconnaissance, and here's your shit.
So everything got dropped?
No. I got out of jail.
Oh, okay.
And I moved to Arizona, and I had to come back and go to court a couple of times.
Oh, shit.
So finally all got squashed and everything, but it was a big pain in the ass, And then we moved down to Arizona and started building the building.
And then that's going to be what we're going to save for the next episode, man.
Start with the beginning of Fairtex Camp.
Yeah, because that's really something, laying the groundwork for this, over the past few years where I've been working with you and talking to you, is we talk about this shit. I'm like, man, none of this is recorded and it's going to go away. If, you guys are old, like you.
It's kind of good.
Rick Solo, all these people.
The thing was in Philadelphia, it was at Philadelphia, it was in Princeton, it was in Cortland, New York, Pittsburgh, New York City. There was guys, there was so much excitement with these things going on and developing, Now martial arts is a huge thing. Back then it was, it was not so huge. So when gifted people came in, it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
But there was so much going on, and there was more going on with the beginning of the UFC in Philadelphia. In fact, there was a period of time, 92, 93, where I had a challenge to fight Royce Gracie. Muay Thai versus Jiu-Jitsu.
You challenged him?
Challenged each other.
Yeah, it's like, let's do it.
By fax, but they wanted to do it in Philadelphia and get some TV coverage and stuff. But we couldn't quite make out the rules. I told them if they couldn't take care of shit in 3 minutes, it wasn't worth a shit.
Yeah.
And that was on fax,
Yeah.
I mean, we got along well.
Yeah.
But, it's just business.
Yeah.
So we had that, and they ended up, I got dropped from it, and there was a guy up in Washington State who's a Muay Thai guy, and he had done some wrestling and stuff, and I guess he used to be personal bodyguard to the King of India or whatever India has. This guy Nimran, or I can't remember his real name. But then it kind of got dropped because it just couldn't fit, get it together and get a place to do it. But they kept on working on the UFC and the Ultimate Fight Challenge. First one was staffed with a lot of people out of Philadelphia, money out of Philadelphia.
Oh, no shit. Because that's where they were talking with, and they were originally trying to do it.
Stephen Maxwell was a big part of it. He's now a kettlebell guru.
Yeah.
But he had a gym teaching the first Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Philadelphia, one of the first on the East Coast. And he also taught a type of weightlifting called slow protocol. And he had a gym that was doing that. It was just down the street from my gym. So we used to hang out all the time.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a very exciting time. It's not like that now. It's different now.
Yeah, definitely very much different now. And kind of just to end this one is, you know, you have a gym here in Scottsdale now. It's you, Nick Chastain, his brother Damian Early.
Correct.
Right, in North Scottsdale. How can they find you guys?
Golden Era Muay Thai.
Golden Era Muay Thai.
Yeah, we're there. Just Google.
Yeah, I'll set it up on the show notes. And for anybody that's over on YouTube, it'll be down. The link's going to be down in the description as well.
Right.
And then obviously if you're around in Muay Thai and they come to Arizona, they'll probably run into your ass.
Hope so.
Yeah, that's how I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
no, I think Nick knocked you out.
That was, but the thing is, I met you before that, but that was the punctuation on that.
Yeah, that was the dot.
So that was like, I think in 2012.
Maybe right? So, I don't remember.
Yeah, I do. I remember. Yeah, that shit sucked, man. I remember. I remember that very well.
I remember the spinning elbow to your third eye.
Man, yeah, literally right on my dome. There was. That was a funny time. And I remember because I just met you. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, I met you once before in Las Vegas at Nick One Kick Show that was, you know, that sports stadium. And I met you and Knockweed knew you. And then I saw you there and you were really nice. You're much younger and prettier than you are now. Yeah. And
happens to everybody.
Maybe you're like, hey, just a reminder, don't duck your head down because if you do and you get kneed in the face, that's on you, okay? You good with that? I'm like, yeah, I'm not planning on getting kneed in the face. Yeah. Well, and back in celebrity theater and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff we can go into, but thanks for coming in today, man.
All right. My pleasure.
Teep Studios.
Teep Studios.
All right. Thank you.